Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, leaders from all generations, good evening. And welcome to the Rundown on Leadership, where we don't just talk leadership, we live it, breathe it, redefine it, and elevate it week after week. And listen, can I just say this? We are loving our time together every Thursday night. These conversations are not just episodes, they are movements. And based on the DMs, the shares, the wow, this was so good texts that we're receiving, we know that you're feeling it too. Thursday nights hit different now. And if you feel it too, tell us about it. If you're watching us online, comment and tell us where you're watching from. If this show is shifting the way you lead, the way you think, the way you move, let us know. We want to invite you to get involved, y'all. If something hits you tonight, drop it in the comments. If a quote sparks your situation or speaks to your situation, jot it down, post it, and tag us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. And if you know someone who's knee-deep in transition, text them right now and tell them to tune in. Don't let them miss what's about to go down. Because this conversation could change how you handle every change from this point forward. Tonight's episode is personal. It's powerful and it's absolutely necessary because we're talking about one word that has disrupted careers, transformed businesses, and challenged even the best of us. That word? Change. But before we get all textbook and tactical on you, let me take you back for a second. I remember a situation early in my leadership journey. Walking into the office, bright-eyed and ready to conquer the day. Laptop fired up, hot cup of tea in hand, and high expectations in tow. Around 1:30 p.m. that afternoon, the phone on my desk rang. I answered, and the next words I heard were, "Hi, Ahmad. Effective tomorrow, please report to so-and-so branch. You've been reassigned to so-and-so unit." Just like that, everything shifted. I went from being confident and in control to confused, concerned, and honestly, I was mad as hell. People started coming to me for answers I did not have. Morale, including mine, started to dip. And I realized something profound. Change isn't hard because it's different. Change is hard because it's unfamiliar and often severely mismanaged. And we as leaders are called to lead people through that unfamiliar territory. So tonight, we're going deeper than buzzwords and surface strategies. You've just been enrolled in a masterclass on change management. Let's call it Change Management 101. We'll uncover the real tools, mindset, and methods that help you lead transformation like a pro. The reality is, no matter how long you've been a leader, change is not coming. It's already here. And if you're not ready to lead through it, it will lead you and your team into chaos, confusion, and collapse. So here's what we're diving into tonight. The 3 pillars every leader must navigate change. The real reason why 70% of change initiatives fail and how to make sure yours does not. The difference between communicating for information and communicating for transformation. And we'll talk about change fatigue because some of you all are tired of pivoting every single Monday. Every week there's something different and something new to adapt. And we've got a powerhouse absolute expert on change management joining us tonight. My guest is Mrs. Elizabeth Longley, HR superhero, change management guru, and principal and owner of Pivotal HR Services, who has led change across global teams and organizations. She's not just going to give us theory, she's bringing insight, experience, and most of all, wisdom. So whether you're a C-suite executive rolling out a new vision, a supervisor trying to get your team on board with a new system, or just someone trying to stay afloat in a world that's consistently flipping the script, this episode is for you. So grab your notepad, turn up the volume, share this with your team, because what we're about to walk through might just be the missing link between confusion and clarity, between resistance and results. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, leaders of all generations, welcome to the Rundown on Leadership. Let's change how we do change. Don't blink, the breakthrough's next.
Let's go. At Frame Studio, as soon as you enter the door, we showcase any individual that comes in there and make it feel like they are at home. The space itself is 1,800 square foot. Our site wall, which is industry standard also, is 24 feet wide. You can do anything that you can possibly think of. At Frame Studio, under our theme, Now Create More, we look at Frame Studio as a canvas. And any artist knows a canvas is blank, and then you create whatever you want to do, right? So we have where you could rent tools. We even have workstations that people could rent out. To anyone inspiring to do what I've done, or what my colleagues have done, or any other journey, I would say to you, don't be afraid. The worst someone can actually tell you is no. So if you have a vision, you have an idea, not everyone will get it. But if you believe in your vision, you believe in your idea, I say go wholeheartedly at it.
For more information about the Creative Entrepreneurs Initiative and the Crafting the Bahamas workshops, email info@sbdcbahamas.com or call us at 461-7232.
Hi, Phil Swift here for the FlexSeal family of flood protection products. Our flood protection products are specifically designed to work together in order to create multiple layers of super strong protection. All these windows, doors, seams, and openings have all been sealed up tight. Now there's a new way to protect your home or business from damaging floodwaters. Get the removable FlexSeal family of flood protection products.
Planning the execution of a newscast is serious business. From the assignment to the concept of the story, everything has to be precise, on point, always. The Bahamas Tonight, the national report, is your trusted news service. We get it right the first time. Our preparation for you each night is done with care, knowing that our voices will reach you on 700 islands and keys with unquestionable accuracy. It gives me great pleasure each night to say,
welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the national report. I'm your national anchor, Mukesh Lapinder.
Welcome back to the Rundown on Leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight is someone that I revere, someone that I value, someone that I trust, and someone that I respect. She is indeed the standard when it comes to change management. She's helped organizations around this country, around the world, understand how to navigate successfully what change management actually is. Her name is Elizabeth Longley, and I'm so grateful that she decided to join us tonight. Liz, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ahmad.
You're very welcome. It's my honor to have you here with us tonight, Liz. Liz, we're talking about change management and all that encompasses, all it actually means. When you think of the term change management, Liz, it can feel sometimes abstract or corporate, like really, really corporate and above our heads. How would you define it in a way that resonates with everyday leaders?
Sure. In its simplest terms, change management is simply moving a team of people from one way of being to another way of being, and making sure that you're guiding them through the journey so that you don't lose them and still minimize the business risks.
Yeah, so moving from point A to point B,
yes,
as minimally risky as possible,
yes,
but guiding them through that process as the leader.
Correct.
You've worked in various industries, Liz, across this country, across the world. What are some of the non-negotiables that leader must do to ensure that that change is going to be navigated successfully?
Sure. The first thing you want as a leader to consider is, what's the objective? When you understand the why behind change, the second point it takes you to is communicating that change. So understand the why. The second thing is to communicate the why. And the third thing is to listen to your team members. People are the core of effecting change. You can have the perfect plan, you can have the process lined up, you can know exactly what you want to take place. But if you don't have your team members on board, that change is pretty much going to fail.
Absolutely. When we think, Liz, of what you just said, you said the fact that if your team is not on board with you, if your team does not buy into this vision, to this whatever you're trying to accomplish and or move from and then move toward, it's likely going to fail. Statistics show that about 70% of all change management initiatives actually do fail. And what we've come to realize is that there are some common missteps. What would you say is the most, or some of the most common missteps that organizations make, or leaders make rather, when they're initiating a change movement?
Sure. They underestimate how ready their people really are.
Wow.
They just assume that because they may have been talking about it amongst themselves, or they think because among the leadership team they've been talking about it, that everyone is ready and geared up to go. It's a misstep if you don't take the time to pause and assess where your team's readiness really is. Because you could have a team that says yes, 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 but that commitment isn't there, then it's really going to be a no, 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 no.
Indeed.
Yeah, so the first misstep would be not paying attention to your team members and assessing their actual change readiness level.
The change readiness level, that's a concept I believe we've not heard a lot about. When you think of what that change readiness level is, because you have, and most times, Liz, you have organizations and leaders in organizations who, because they've had the roundtable meetings, they've had the meeting after meeting, discussions after discussion, month after month, year after year, they've taken the time to get this change prepared at their level. And the expectation is, as of Monday, in my example earlier in the story I received, that decision wasn't made by the seat of the pants. I'm sure somebody discussed that for weeks and weeks.
That's right.
But I got the call that said, hey, tomorrow morning, report to so-and-so. You're now reassigned to so-and-so.
Ouch.
And I'm like, pardon? Say it again, huh? How do you ensure, because you can do the readiness check if you want to, or if you want to be successful, but what is the difference between the big meetings and then coming down to the team and communicating what this change is going to actually be?
That's hugely important because there's something called the WIFM. Have you heard about WIFM?
Absolutely.
WIFM.
Yes. What's in it for me? Yes, yes,
At
yes.
the end of the day, it doesn't matter what decision is made, by whom or how. Every individual wants to know how are they impacted or affected by the change.
Yes.
So, for example, in the instance where you were just pretty much reassigned, of course the natural response is, well, what am I supposed to do now?
What's
What does
next?
this mean for me?
Yes.
Are they setting me up to release me? Are they having a challenge with the way that I perform? And so you have all of these questions that come into the mind of an individual that somewhat don't need to be there had the leader communicated exactly what the WIFM factor was.
Yes, because if we're honest, Liz, if I'm honest to the audience, when that transition took place, with the example I gave earlier, what happened was that organization had made a really good decision to move in a different direction, and they wanted to put the right talent in that unit to make this really come to life. The problem is the really good talent had no idea that, one, they saw me as really good talent, two, that my really good talent could be used elsewhere, and that, three, I wasn't in trouble. I wasn't some afterthought or a by the way. And so it diminished initially the value that this talent could bring to the situation.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
That's right. It's a missed opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because had they taken another perspective, i.e. had the conversation, listen, Ahmad, we anticipate some changes coming down the line. We've been looking at the work that you've been doing. You sit up a little bit taller. You show them, you make sure they don't miss you, regardless of what their plan is. But it better positions you to respond to the change. And ultimately, successful change management does just that. It makes sure that the people who are being affected, they're able to respond positively to the change.
Yes. And that positive response doesn't necessarily amount to agreement or agreement.
Not necessarily.
Right? Somebody could still feel a certain way about that change.
Yes.
Even though they've been made to understand what the change is going to result in.
Correct.
How does a leader handle that? Resistance, if you will. It may not be outright avoidance of the change, but it could be, you know what, I'm not really feeling what's going on here. How does the leader handle that as that progresses?
I'll give you an actual example. I had an opportunity to work with a company that was changing all of their standard operating procedures for the core functions. This is a company that's been around for decades, and the employees have also been there, most of them, for quite a long time.
Wow.
And there was a grouping of individuals who were shifting the way that they work. It was a lot of manual labor. They knew the ins and outs of that job like the back of their hand. You couldn't tell them anything that they didn't know.
Yes.
And there was a team of them in particular that completely resisted the change.
Wow.
They heard about the new processes. They knew things were supposed to be better. They're supposed to be more efficient. It's supposed to make life easier. But the resistance came because it was all automated. So now you know how we already feel these robots and AI coming to take over our jobs.
Yes.
And they resisted. They resisted the trainings. They resisted the meetings. They resisted giving feedback. They resisted the coaching. And there was a gentleman I pulled on. I said, hey, man, what's really going on?
What's going on? Talk to me.
He said, ma'am, I in debt up to my eyeballs.
Wow.
Ma'am, between me and you, I don't know how to use the computer. I don't know how to work Excel. I can lose my job, miss. I can't lose my job. So in the scheme of things, while this major change, this adoption of new technology and software and customization sounded great for the company, It's the individual who you have to pay attention to and make sure break it down for them so that they show what you're going to do to help them along the way.
Yes.
Long story short, what we did is we enrolled him, we contracted a third-party vendor to assist him with understanding where to press start on the computer.
Yes.
To not be afraid to click on the buttons, to not be afraid to explore and how to access the app. And once we were able to build up that confidence, as an employee, he was better than ready to take on the world, pretty much. He had a brand new perspective on life, on work, and he saw how he, as old as, not old in a bad way, but as experienced as he was in the field, this old dog was able to learn new tricks. Had we not addressed it that way, he could have either resigned, we would have lost the talent. He could have been a sour grape in the bunch of grapes. He could have made things much worse than it needed to be. So addressing the WIFM, making sure that individuals understand how they're going to be impacted and what you as a leader, what you're going to do about it. It's not just the employee. They have a part to play, but you also have a responsibility.
This is the part I believe that leaders get wrong. When we identify that individual or those individuals who seem to be incapable, right? You are going to take them from what they've been accustomed to for the last 30 years, 15 years, 5 years, and introduce something tomorrow radically.
Right away.
That you yourself may not fully understand as the leader. You may understand why it's necessary to do so, but you may be struggling with the how and the when and the why as well. What happens when those leaders make the wrong decision to X that employee, to ostracize him, to miscategorize him, to diminish what he or she actually can do? Because the truth of the matter is, Liz, that institutional knowledge means a great deal to the success of that change. And if that person is going to go away with 30 years, 25 years of real, actual experience and knowledge, and is expected to, a system is expected to just make that go away and make that better, replace it, it's not going to work. That's right. What happens, why do leaders, do you think, rush so hard to just, man, he making no sense, let's get rid of him?
Yeah. A part of it is because they themselves are uncomfortable with the change.
Talk about that, Liz.
You find some leaders are in positions when they're able to perform in one area, and then you thrust them into another area or give them another responsibility, and that confidence level dips.
Wow.
And they may take on a persona where anything that gets in the way, anything that's not doing exactly as I wanted to do, anything that's causing some resistance or challenge for me, I ain't got time for that, I gotta get over here.
Wow.
So a lot of times there's a level of self-awareness and a checking of what your intentions are, what your goals are, what you're doing, what's your behavior as you respond to the change. This is where leaders need to pay a closer attention, even before now. You try to go tell somebody else what to do.
Yes. This is so important because I think if we really get to the nitty-gritty, leaders that are insecure will take full umbrage and try to protect themselves versus really navigating what this change is supposed to accomplish. That WIFM, that what's in it for me moment is so very important to what's going to happen and how this change actually lands in the organization. Because the plan to have the change orchestrated, the plan to go live on so-and-so date means nothing, as you said at the beginning, if it is that the people that's going to make this thing come to life either don't believe in it or don't get behind it. When we come back from our break, we're going to talk about some of the things that really stifle how change management takes shape. We're going to cover these, what we call the 5 key things that every leader must do to lead successful change. I want our leaders to really lean into this conversation because you right now yourself as a leader may be going through something, maybe navigating a specific change, maybe going through change yourself. And you need to understand that these things are going to help you to really be successful as you move through and toward this change. Because if you do not, you risk absolute and utter catastrophe. So stay close, get your notepads, text a friend, let them know what's going on. We are talking about Change Management 101. You are in class, ladies and gentlemen. Stay close, your breakthrough is behind this break.
Summer in the Bahamas. The weather is hot, but not as hot as the ZNS summer packages. Get ads on ZNS TV or ZNS Radio Network or the TV community page or a combination of all 3. ZNS has got you covered with great prices, whatever package you choose. Book before June 7th and get the local Federation Championship Baseball bonus full of all kinds of extras free of charge. Contact your account executive or call ZNS Sales at 502-3800 today. Hot summer package rates valid until July 31st.
Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, we have been in Exomen now for the past 4 years, carrying out our paving program. A part of our company's philosophy is to do some work to international standards. So when you look at our paving division, we have a state-of-the-art lab to do all of our testing in-house, as well as a state-of-the-art asphalt plant with a trained technician carrying out the work on that site. The overarching goal of our company is to produce the work that we're doing in the entire Bahamas to international standards. We also make a difference by the training of our staff. We have a very intensive training program going on to where we are teaching young men how to learn the art of striping. Being a young man myself, I've made mistakes in the past. I was given a second chance to better my life, and it's only fitting that we pass that along. What's important for us is giving them a second chance for them to get a skill and a career that could take them further in life.
The internet isn't just for surfing. There's a sea of shoppers buying online, and you can connect with them on Tingsy. Tingsy is the SBDC's online storefront built for Bahamians. Take your business to the next level by selling to customers online, both at home and around the world. People want Bahamian things, and if you got things to sell, sell on Tingsy. Find out how you can connect with a sea of buyers by visiting tingsybahamas.com.
Welcome back to the show, You Change Agent You. Liz, we are having such a good time in this conversation right now because I believe that people are already starting to elevate their thinking around change management. But Liz, if we really keep it 100% tonight, right? Many leaders mismanage the opportunity to lead through change. And it's because many of them don't really understand what these 5 key components of change management really are, right? And those 5 would be considered casting the vision boldly, right? You can't be afraid to say what's going to happen, where we're going next, right? Securing the right champions. We're going to come back to that in a second. The people in your organization who we would consider gangsters. Those people who have all the influence, whether positive or negative, right? We're talking about identifying and communicating relentlessly. You can't let up on your communication strategy, and then creating quick wins, celebrating things when they start to go right. And lastly, measure, adjust, and sustain. Liz, of these 5 key components of this change management model, what do you think is the one that most leaders get the most wrong?
Communicating relentlessly. Sometimes leaders feel that once we've said it once, that's good enough. Well, I told you, I sent you an email,
put it on the bulletin board.
It's there. It's up to you to go and figure it out.
Wow.
Well, stay tuned. It's a missed opportunity, Ahmad, because as people, we need reinforced communication. Don't tell me just once. You need to show me what you mean. You know, in our HR lingo, we say model the behavior.
Model the behavior.
In simplest terms, though, we need to have regular conversations and different ways that we're having the conversations. So yes, the documents of the email is important, the bulletin board is important, but get down to where that team member is and talk to them. More importantly, listen to them. Communicating change is not a one-way street. And if you want it to land effectively and you want to be most successful, it can't just be top-down. You need to have a bottom-up approach. And it needs to be in various modes. So if it's the feedback, is it a survey? Is it a focus group? Is it the email? Is it the managing director coming in and having a conversation? Or better yet, as you alluded to, those influencers being able to come and relay the message. So the biggest opportunity where I think leaders miss is not communicating relentlessly, and we underestimate the importance of that.
Relentless communication. I think and the language there is intentional, because you can communicate. You can even communicate effectively. But if it is that people forgot, people allowed their fears, those thoughts that come into their mind after they've been given this mandate to report to so-and-so unit tomorrow. Tomorrow? This happened on a Thursday afternoon.
You had plans for the weekend. And
life ruined in my mind, you know, essentially, right? But when you think about this relentless communication, saying it in different ways, speaking the language of the audience you get the privilege of serving. Because you can have that high communication, effective, Miss, what does this mean for me? I can be able to pay my children's school fee on Monday? Will I be able to pay this mortgage next week, Tuesday? Can I get my lashes redone next week?
Please.
Will I be able to live my life based on the change that you've been, you're communicating to what's going to happen next week, next month, next year? What happens, though, Liz, when we find those champions and we underutilize and underestimate them? Because you have these people in your organization that are very vocal, very influential, and they either on your team or not. What happens when, because many leaders avoid the gangsters in their organization list.
They're scared.
This man too troublesome, she always got something to say, they ignore them, they avoid them, and in most cases they typecast them. But it's those individuals that they really lean in that will help them to navigate this change most successfully. Talk to the leader right now, Liz, who is envisioning, who can see their gangster in their mind right now. How do they engage them?
I see the gangster.
Yes.
I see him and her.
Yes.
And they're confident and they're bold and
Yes.
they dare you.
They dare you.
To ruffle their feathers.
Try me.
Try me.
Yeah, yeah.
What you do is you use that energy and you harness that for what you need.
Yes.
You sit them down, get them a little something to drink, a little, you know, treat them
Like
nicely.
Starbucks something.
Something, make them feel good, make them feel seen, and you have the conversation. Listen, Ahmad, I see what you've been doing. I want you to have a heads up on what's coming down the pipeline. Let me show you how this go. Let me show you how you're going to be impacted. Tell me what you think about this.
Yes, yes.
Reel them in and use them as your champion for the change. Allow them to be the mouthpiece and address their concerns.
Yes.
Because they have the pulse more than you do.
Absolutely.
They know what's going down.
They are fully aware, Liz.
They know what the team members feeling.
Yes,
they
yes.
know what the sensitive spots are. They know where the team is confident. Use that information and turn that gangster into your change champion.
Absolutely. I think what we focus on, Liz, is the fact that the gangster is emboldened, is very brave, is very brazen, and will challenge you at every chance they get. But you use two words. You said energy and harness. Use that energy, right? Don't diminish the energy. Don't downcast the energy. Don't underestimate the energy.
Right.
Don't typecast it as difficulty. Or he just is not agreeable. First of all, everyone, Liz, wants to be seen.
Right.
They want to be heard. They want to know how they're doing.
Right.
Am I doing the right thing? Am I going in the right direction? But you said to use that energy and harness what that valuable insight is. A change expert will not give you the valuable feedback that person will bring you, because he can tell you, look here, boss.
Thank fly.
End that right now. Because the money you spend on that, you get out to ask for bonus, because these people are on your run. Talk about what happens when leaders miss this step. They have communicated the change in their minds at their big round table, and they've come up with their fancy ChatGPT generated email, because they want it to sound like a human being. They want it to be all personable and all this stuff. But the people saying, y'all got to be kidding me. Why is that step so important? Why is doing it before the change is unleashed important versus doing it afterwards?
Good question, Ahmad. There are 3 stages to managing change effectively.
Talk about those.
The first step is preparing for the change. And in this preparation step is where you reeling in those gangsters before you press play.
Beforehand.
You are assessing now what are the things that may go left. What are who are the key resistors? What's going to make this difficult for me? Let's find out what they are, why they are, and how do we get ahead of that? How do we respond to them? Because if we don't, which is to your question, then when we get now to managing the change, implementing the change, we can have issues. It can be difficult.
And big time issues too.
Big issues. Because you don't need team members fighting against you when they ain't sure about what's really going on.
They don't even know what they're fighting for.
They don't even know what they're fighting for. All they know is they're about to be uncomfortable, and nobody wants to be uncomfortable.
And anyone feeling their back against the wall is going to come out fighting.
Absolutely. Defensive.
Whether the threat is real or not, the fact is, wait a minute now, something happened in here. Just feel like you're trying to take my money in my pocket. Miss, fire on your change. We ain't doing that today.
You got it.
Wow.
You got it. So as a leader now, you want to take the initiative. You want to be strategic in your approach. You want to use all of those leadership skills and those soft skills, including your emotional intelligence now, to get ahead of what you anticipate may be a major problem coming down the future.
Absolutely. When we think of that first key step, Liz, casting the vision boldly. People can misunderstand what boldly means. I said what I said, take it or leave it. It's not what we mean by casting the vision boldly. What we're saying, though, is if you seem like you're stammering with your vision, how do I now get behind your vision?
That's right.
Talk about how important it is for the leaders to actually know, be aware of, be intimate with what this change is supposed to result in and how we're going to get there.
That's right. In order for a leader to be successful in managing that change, they first have to be okay with the change.
Wow.
And you find that many leaders are not okay.
The big email coming up from corporate.
Yeah, and they just pass it on. So they say they don't want to deal with it. So they pass it to the next person. You deal with it. You figure it out. Just make sure at the end of the day, I get what I want.
So and so. We say things like corporate say.
Yes.
They say head office say.
Yes, we remove ourselves from the change that needs to take place. We separate ourselves from the leadership responsibility that we have in order to implement this change. That's not the way to be successful.
Absolutely not.
As the leader, we need to get to the root of why we may feel uncomfortable. And we need to answer those questions for ourselves in order for us to be authentic in forwarding and managing this change. So we're asking, why does this got to happen again? Why does this need to happen now? What does this have to do with me? Well, how is this supposed to happen? Well, let me think about it.
Yes.
So even before the managers or the leaders get to affecting change with the individual, they themselves need to wrap their minds, their hearts around it.
A change.
I said hearts, Ahmad. Some may say heart, but what the heart got to do with this? The heart is involved because people are involved.
Wow, Liz.
As a leader, we are connecting with people. AI is here to stay.
Yes,
you could put anything in ChatGPT.
Yes,
that could spit out your plan, your process, your resource allocation, the budget. That could give you full details.
Full details.
That's not where you're going to be successful and impactful. As a leader, you are impactful when you connect with your team members, you establish trust, and they follow you.
They follow you willingly.
Follow you willingly.
Not by choice, I mean, not by force, not by, they feel some kind of ultimatum is now at play. The leader, Liz, that is unaware of why this change is necessary, is uncomfortable with this change, is uncertain about this change, does not see themselves in this new reality. Let's talk to them for a moment, because even though they're charged with leading this change, they somehow feel detached from it. What does he or she do? What happens when the leader realizes, you know what? I don't see myself in this, I don't see myself on the other side of this change. How do they start to now level set the conversation with themselves and their leaders to realize that, you know what, once this is done, or even while this is going on, I take my hat out of the ring here because this doesn't feel like this belongs to me. How do you deal with that?
Sure. There are two steps you need to take. The first is assess your intentions and why you feel uncomfortable. Have that honest conversation. Why do I feel this way? What am I afraid of? Have I been overcompensating for something? Do I have imposter syndrome? Something wrong with me?
Yes.
You have to check yourself first as a leader. So that when you go to the next step, which is now communicating with your leader or whomever you got the directive from, you're able to ask questions in a direct and not subjective but objective manner.
You remove the feeling from it, even though there's an emotional attachment to the question and the conversation.
Yes, because you've checked your feelings.
Absolutely. It's so important that you understand as the leader that you're not going to be able to effectively lead this change if you're not, first of all, committed to it yourself. If you don't, first of all, understand where the change is coming from, why it's necessary, where it will result in, where it will lead us. You as the leader cannot be afraid to be relentlessly vulnerable. It's such a superpower when you can tap into the fact that, you know what, I feel uneasy about this, I'm uncertain about this, I don't know where I fit in this. If those questions that Liz just asked are in your mind, if you feel like, you know what, they're trying to get rid of me, and don't fall prey to the rabbit hole of what ifs and what ifs and what ifs. Ask real questions. The right leaders, real leaders, ask the right questions. And so when you feel uncertain, seek clarity.
That's right.
Because now when you're clear, you can understand why, what, who, when, and how, and then what again. Because if you don't lean into that vulnerability, lean into that uncertainty, and challenge it, ask the right questions. What does this mean? When will this take place? Who is going to be impacted? Which team members are going to be most impacted by this initiative? What will this mean for our Family Island team, for our global team, for our so-and-so team? What will our customers say? What is our communication strategy? All of these questions are questions you should be asking so that when you now get faced with these questions, you can give intelligent, thoughtful responses to your team so that you're not felt like your pants are at your waist, at your ankles. You want to be fully prepared as much as possible, which means you must ask the right questions. Liz, when we come back from our next break, we're going to talk about change fatigue. Because Liz, if we really real tonight, listen, man, every Monday is something different in some of these organizations. Some leaders are walking backwards and forwards at the same time. So when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, stay close because we're going to be talking about what change fatigue really is. What happens when you're so tired? You're tired being tired. Stay close, we'll be right back.
New stuffed crust cheddar flavor has a taste you'll enjoy.
Outside and inside.
with a delicious stuffed crust covered in irresistible cheddar flavor. Come and try the new stuffed crust cheddar flavor only at Little Caesars.
Pizza, pizza.
After 30 years of banking, I've decided to take a leap of faith. I moved from banking into an untapped industry, which is manufacturing in the Bahamas. And now we are standing on 3 acres of land on which we're going to be putting the Bahamas' first end-to-end plastic recycling company, Eden Recycling and Manufacturing Company Limited. Eden has 2 arms, recycling and manufacturing.
This is groundbreaking for us. It's never been done before. It really makes a difference, not only in the Bahamas, but even around the world. This is not just a project that we're doing so that we can make a couple of dollars. We want to make sure that it benefits those who come after us. In future generations, we hope that this is a small vision, that they will take it and they'll expand on it. We can have the formula for what it means to do end-to-end recycling in the Bahamas, in the region, and even if we have to export these ideas and thoughts and concepts even into the U.S.
Summer in the Bahamas. The weather is hot, but not as hot as the ZNS summer packages. Get ads on ZNS TV or ZNS Radio Network or the TV community page, or a combination of all 3. ZNS has got you covered with great prices, whatever package you choose. Book before June 7th and get the local Federation Championship Baseball bonus full of all kinds of extras free of charge. Contact your account executive or call ZNS Sales at 502-3800 today. Hot summer package rates valid until July 31st.
Welcome back to the show. I am certain that by now your notepads are riddled with good notes and good plans for tomorrow. But Liz, I want to shift gears for a moment. So many organizations are naturally, because of the way the world is moving and going and the pace is moving, change is happening constantly. It's constantly something else to get ahead of, to be aware of. What is change fatigue, and how does it really impact an organization and a leader's ability to really navigate change?
Sure. Change fatigue is simply being sick and tired of all of the changes and not being able to move forward, because before you move forward, you got to move backward, and before you move backward, you got to move right, and before you go right. So fatigue sets in when there's no clear path on how we're moving forward, even if we're moving forward. It sets in when we don't see or know how what we're doing every single day is actually moving the needle. What are we doing? When that clarity is absent, man, I'm tired. This is a waste of time. I ain't feeling this. I don't know what's going on. And naturally, when you burn so much energy, you go in 100 miles per hour to meet all of these demands. And again, you don't feel or know where you're going. Naturally, you're going to become wary, and you may even become disinterested in any future change.
Indeed. That lack of clarity will eventually result in disengagement.
Correct.
Right? Because you have that employee who was initially, we talked about those champions. You know what? We were able to convince and persuade Mary that you're all I on this run. This making good sense. I can go tell the children what is what. I don't mean to call you a child if you're a big one adult, but you understand my perspective, right? Mary and Saul, them, they behind this movement. Now they're going to take this to the next level. But all of a sudden, or eventually, Mary them realized, wait now, this ain't sense. This ain't make it. We're not going anywhere with any real direction. Every time we turn around, there's something different. What happens when the organization avoids the conversation that needs to happen in those moments and continue to keep pushing forward and result, demand, is that your employees become less and less interested, more and more disengaged. They check out. They say, you know what? You all better just figure this out. Let me know when I get paid.
That's right.
As long as my money ain't affected by this rubbish you're dealing with here, I'm just going to do what I need to do and keep it moving. Why is that so dangerous? To not just that change, but the reality after that change has been implemented.
Because it's a slippery slope, Ahmad. You don't know at which point your team members may be when you present that change in the first place. So if you have team members who are already disgruntled, uncertain, not sure about what's coming down the pipeline, feeling some type of way about you as a leader, feeling some type of way about the organization, things are not settled. And then you pile on change after change after change after change, you may break them and lose them altogether. And once a disengaged employee is lost, they've mentally checked out, ain't no coming back with the same vim and vigor as we say in our colloquialism.
They might be able to check back in for a minute, but the real zeal is lost.
It's lost.
Because you've now confused me, You frustrated me. You have told me, you have shown me that I don't really matter in this change.
And I don't trust you anymore.
I don't trust you, because you lie.
You lie.
Monday you tell me everything cool. Wednesday, hold on now, wait a minute. Friday, next week, man, what's going on here?
You using me and into that.
I feel like I'm a cog in your whole game of whatever you're trying to accomplish, especially when from the onset that change was miscommunicated or not effectively communicated.
I find that out through the grapevine.
I was off on vacation. They WhatsApp me and tell me if I see this email come out, I wasn't even on the email. All of these things now affect people in the wrong way. If we go back to that example, Liz, when I was told on Thursday afternoon that the next day I was supposed to report at so-and-so meeting. People started to call my phone left, right, and center. You hear what? Listen, I have no answer.
The grapevine is real.
I have no answer. I just want us to be mindful that change is usually good. It's usually uncomfortable. So I'm trying my best to sell dreams. I try my best to swing the swingers list. Because ultimately, I have no answers for these team members. But I know, hopefully, I'm praying that all is going to be well. We get to this meeting the next day. I get to the place the next day, not even a meeting, the place the next day, and I see a table about as long as Airport Road with other team members affected by the same change, all looking around like, what is going on here? Somebody comes into the room, and they said there's been a new unit devised, and all of you are going to be a part of this unit. And starting Monday, you're going to have these customers to call, and that customer will call. Say what? Pardon me? What unit? I don't want to be. So now, on top of all the things that I was thinking over the weekend, I'm coming into this place on Monday. The team members are coming into this place on Monday, whether they are checked in or not. Something has changed about the way they're going to receive and respond to this component of this change management process.
Yes.
Let me think, Liz, about how and why it's so important that when the change fatigue sets in, or when people really check out, they start to get rebellious now.
Yes.
It's not so much resistance. It's more so rebellion. It's more so, I'm going to now sabotage this process.
I can show you.
I'm telling customers, try please, what to do. Don't trouble that, don't bother with that. How does the leader now come back from that? Is there an opportunity to come back?
There's always an opportunity to do right. And as the leader of integrity, it is your responsibility to do right.
Wow.
So you first acknowledge a mistake was made. You call that team member in once you broaden your shoulders and you've built up your chest and you make sure you're in the right place. And you say, listen, man, I realized that we skipped a step. We started out of the gate in a way that allowed us to go down a path that we're really trying to go down. Let's reset. Let's restart. Here's what's going down. This is what we're trying to do, and we need you now to be an active part of this in order for this to be successful. What do we need to do to make things better? As they say, humble yourself.
Yes, eat that humble pie and calm right down. One of the things that I've learned in this whole change management scape of business, Liz, when I worked in another organization, we were going to move from weekly pay to bi-weekly pay. Right? This was in an industry that is very well known in our country, and people continue to live to this day, paycheck to paycheck. So when you're telling me, as an individual, whether I have enough money or not is not your business, Mr. Boss Man. The fact is that's my money. And so now we're saying to these employees, we're going to be moving from what you've been accustomed to for the entire time you were working here, to move into a bi-weekly pay cycle. We wanted to make this change in September of that year. We communicated the change in March. About 6 to 7 months out from the change. We had financial institutions come into the organization to talk to people. We had counselors come in, psychologists come in. We had the debtors that our employees were indebted to come in to help them to understand we are going to work with you. We had landlords come in and talk to the staff about, listen, this is a change that's going to be inevitable. What we need to do is help you to understand how you can now just transition from a weekly pay to a bi-weekly pay, and what that means for you to manage your expenses, to manage your budget, to manage your money. Did it make every single human on that property come around? No. But it made people realize, you know what? From July, I could plan my summer. I could plan my back to school. I could plan my Christmas, because I realized now that I'm going to be paid in a different cycle than I've been accustomed to all of my adult life working in this organization. That change took place with little to no hiccup, because we took the time to educate the team months and months in advance. That conversation was held from the previous year in the budget cycle to say, you know what, it's costing us too much money to pay weekly, we got to move to bi-weekly. What would we need to do?
Yeah.
What we did was, we call them gangsters from the following previous year.
See?
Come. What they can do, if we tell them we pay him moving the bi-weekly, boss, you're gonna have a big fight, they can quit, Man, real talk, calm down.
Yeah.
Tell us how they're gonna respond to this change. What do you think is gonna be the worst thing that can happen? And then we started to ask questions around the property. If we were to move to a bi-weekly pay cycle, how do you think it can affect you in your situation? People became more receptive to, more prepared for the change because they were brought in really, really early. We let them know your feedback will not delay our decision to transition to bi-weekly pay. Yes. This is happening.
Yes.
So whether you feel good about it or not, ma'am, sir, we respect that feeling, but we want you to know it will not alter our process or our plans. That made that process so much easier, Liz. But so many leaders misunderstand, they mismanage, and they underestimate the opportunity to do just that, to engage, to talk, to tap into those champions.
That's right.
If you were to give a leader right now listening, Liz, who may be at the brink of transition or change, or right now in the middle of that change, what is the one bit of advice you would give them right now to navigate that thing successfully?
Be consistent. Be consistent. Remember why you're making the change. Remember who is impacted by the change, and be consistent in communicating throughout the entire process. Once you are sure about yourself and what's supposed to happen, you've identified your change champions who can assist you with communicating that message. Stay consistent. Stay consistent. Because the second you fall off, my friend, I want you to know.
Once that ball fumble, that's it.
You lose momentum, and you don't want to lose momentum.
So many leaders, as we bring this to a quick close, Liz, so many leaders focus on morale versus momentum when it comes to change management. And I try my best to let leaders know morale is fleeing.
Right.
The pizza party only lasts for a little while, but that momentum, planes don't need hope to take off. Planes need momentum to take off. So you need change momentum. You need momentum makers in your organization that's going to help you to take this thing to the next level. Talk to the leader very quickly, Liz, about understanding that momentum is not nice to have. It is a requirement. It is a necessity. Without it, what's going to happen is
your change falls apart.
Wow.
The car stops moving. The train stops on the tracks. You run out of gas. The momentum is what's going to allow the change to endure the process of a journey. See, change looks at the people side of transition. You know, you have the process side. You have your project management team. They make sure all of your resources are allocated. They have their responsibility. But effective change management considers now how much gas do we need for this journey? What do we need to have for snacks? What do we need to have, and these are hypothetical or proverbial snacks? What do we need to do to make sure that everyone who's in this caravan, they are able to stay along with us for the journey, for the ride, and they can help us get to where we want to get to. When you lose that momentum and the train stop, you set yourself back, and you have to exert even more effort in order to get to where you were and even to continue to push the train forward. In change management terms, we call it establishing the drumbeat. The drumbeat is what is used to ensure that you have regular communication. You have top down, bottom up, left to the inside, right to the inside, and outside. And when you have multiple ways of communicating to make sure everyone's marching to the same tune, they understand what is the tune, the why, the how, the who, the with them, you're able to keep the drumbeat and the momentum for your change project.
This drumbeat, Liz, this component of understanding why, what, when, who, what again. When you find that the drumbeat is off, when you find that somebody it's a pitter-patter, but somebody not going, or somebody going, you talked about the effectiveness of the communication strategies, understanding that you can't do one way. Why is it so important to diversify how we communicate to these teams? Talk about that for a moment, because I think we underestimate that because change is inevitable and change is happening no matter what you say or do or feel, I don't have to make sure you understand it or get it. Why is that so important to make sure that you're speaking to your audience in different ways, in different perspectives, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's important because you want your change to be sustainable. You don't want a one-hit wonder. And you want to be able to lay the foundation to build on the changes that you've made. When you take a strategic approach to change management, you're making sure that your long-term goals are aligned with your short-term goals, which are aligned with your immediate in front of you change initiatives that need to happen. So diversifying your communication strategies, make sure that everybody who's on your team, they're seen, they're heard, and they're a part of the gang. They are on board and they're engaged and able to communicate when, hold on, you're going too fast, or hold on, you're going too slow. You're able to keep a pulse on where your team members are. Remember now, change management is about making sure the people are where they need to be in order for them to get to where you want them to go. Ultimately, as a leader, it is your responsibility to set the tone, if you use a musical reference, to establish that drum beat, and to say how fast is too fast or how slow is too slow. And then to be flexible enough now to slow down reasonably.
When necessary.
When necessary. If your tire need to change, don't speed along with your flat tire, you're going to burst up your rim. Take a pause, slow down, get your the NASCAR fast people to quickly change your tire, but acknowledge the tire is flat. Acknowledge when team members are offbeat. Acknowledge when someone needs something that you didn't anticipate. Acknowledge those gangsters now who are going to give you insight and information to make sure you don't stumble, you don't stop, that momentum keeps going.
What you're talking about, Liz, is emotional intelligence. It's being fully aware that something is off. Somebody is offbeat, somebody is using a symbol when they're supposed to be using a triangle, somebody is doing something that doesn't feel quite right. Somebody has raised their hand and said, hold on now. Initially we said A was in it for me, now we switched to C and Q. I'm not sure I understand how, what, and why. As the leader, it is your responsibility to successfully communicate, effectively communicate what, when, why, how, what, when, why, how, what, when, why. Again. You cannot give up. You can't let up. You can't assume that because Mary got it, Saul got it too.
That's right.
You need to ensure that your team members are fully aware, fully equipped, and for the entirety of the journey. Because it is a journey, not a destination.
Correct.
And success, if done right, is going to leave clues. You cannot go through this level of change, no matter how small or magnanimous that change is, and not be prepared to have some fallout. Some miscommunication, somebody saying, wait, now I ain't on this run, you all need to get from around me with this foolishness. When you find yourself as the leader in those moments, it's important that you're able to tap into your team to recognize those signs, speak to those signs, and have the team members in place to result, to refresh, to re-level set the conversation and the momentum. I believe, Liz, this conversation has been transformative. I believe we've helped someone right now understand what it means to really, really change, to navigate change successfully. If you, Liz, were right now starting something new, taking on a new change, taking on something that felt uncertain, something that felt brand new, what is the one thing, the single most important thing you would do as you leapt into that change?
Trust.
Trust. Trust who? Trust what?
Trust your source. Trust where you get your momentum and your energy from. Trust the process. Trust your intentions. Without that, you'll be flailing all around the place. But ensure that you're grounded so that whatever comes your way, you are equipped and able to respond appropriately.
Yes. On that note, Liz, it's time for a break. We're going to take a quick break here as we come to the end of our segment this evening and talking about Change Management 101. Ladies and gentlemen, I am certain that Benayo on your second notebook. Stay close, come right back, don't go nowhere, go to the bathroom quick, and come right back because this conversation continues when we return. Thank you so much and stay close.
Ahmad Striping Group of Companies, we have been in Exoma now for the past 4 years, carrying out our paving program. A part of our company's philosophy is to do some work to international standards. So when you look at our paving division, we have a state-of-the-art lab to do all of our testing in-house, as well as a state-of-the-art asphalt plant with a trained technician carrying out the work on that site. The overarching goal of our company is to produce the work that we're doing in the entire Bahamas to international standards. We also make a difference by the training of our staff. We have a very intensive training program going on to where we are teaching young men how to learn the art of striping. Being a young man myself, I've made mistakes in the past. I was given a second chance to better my life, and it's only fitting that we pass it along. What's important for us is giving them a second chance for them to get a skill and a career that could take them further in life.
Planning the execution of a newscast is serious business. From the assignment to the concept of the story, everything has to be precise, on point, always. The Bahamas Tonight, the national report, is your trusted news service. We get it right the first time. Our preparation for you each night is done with care, knowing that our voices will reach you on 700 islands and keys with unquestionable accuracy. It gives me great pleasure each night to say,
Welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm your national anchor, Makushla Pinder.
Are you ready for the hardest sports show on the market? It's called The Timeout. Sundays on the ZNet Television Network. In our first show, 4 decades of sports in the country.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Liz, and our final question for you tonight. In all your experience and all your years of doing this and doing this successfully, give us a really good and quick example of what change management looks like when it's been successful.
Sure. Successful change management looks like you have buy-in from the top, you have buy-in from the bottom, you have alignment across the organization. And as you move forward along that change journey, all players have a say and they're marching to the same beat. They're able to give their perspectives, even though it may be different, but they're heard, they're seen, and you're able to respond quickly, increasing your change for the organization.
Absolutely. Whew. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been quite the episode. What a conversation, what a masterclass indeed. I don't know about you, but I feel like we didn't just talk about change tonight, we really ran that thing down. Let's take a breath right here, because for a lot of you, this wasn't just another leadership lesson. This was a mirror. Some of you are right in the middle of a major change, a restructure, a rebrand, a shift in direction, a new role, a new leader, or maybe the change is personal. Maybe it's a season of growth, a season of grief, or a season of letting go. I want you to know that we here at the Rundown on Leadership see you. This is why we do this on this show. And here's what I want you to hear from me tonight. Not as a host, not as a coach, but as a fellow leader on the battlefield. Change is supposed to stretch you, but it's not supposed to break you. We talked tonight about how to cast a vision, how to communicate clearly, how to gain buy-in, how to pace your progress, and how to handle resistance, not with panic, but with poise. But can I give you one more secret? None of that works unless you lead you first. You can't help your team transition if you're stuck in fear. You can't drive alignment if your heart is still clinging to the old way. You cannot talk about the future with conviction if you're doubting your own ability to make it there. Change doesn't just challenge your strategy, it confronts your identity. But here is the good news, ladies and gentlemen. You just got certified in Change Management 101. You were born for this, you were called to this, you were not in the season by accident. And the message tonight is that you don't have to walk it alone. You've now got the blueprint. The next move belongs to you. Do not let this show be just another good show that sits on the shelf of your memory. Turn what you heard tonight into action. Right, Ginks, right now. Revisit your vision, rally your champions, start over-communicating on purpose. And don't forget, quick wins aren't just vanity metrics. They are faith builders for your people. So here's my final word tonight. Don't just manage change, master it. Own it, lead it, shape it, and let it transform you just as much as it transforms your team. A very special thank you to our brilliant guest, my friend and change management expert, Elizabeth Longley, for dropping gem after gem after gem. And I want to thank you, the real MVPs, for tuning in, sharing and growing right along with us. Liz, right now there's a leader watching, has more clarity, but still needs more guidance. How can they reach out to you if they want expert help?
Sure. Reach me on LinkedIn. You can find Elizabeth Longley, or even Google Pivotal, pivot-l.com. We are available for you.
Indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. This has been the night show. Our home. Please, please, please do not take this for granted. Share with us, DM us if you have any thoughts, any questions. If you know someone that's navigating change right now, share this link with them. Tell them all about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rundown on Leadership. And should the Lord tarry next week, we will see you again, same time, same place, where we help good leaders become great ones and great leaders leave legacy. Don't forget to tune into ZNS News tonight at 11 p.m., where we have the final broadcast on all things happening in news. This is Ahmad Rashad Thompson for the Rundown on Leadership. Everyone, have a great evening and God bless.
Fort Montague, I'm Opal Roach.